Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. Former IBF champion Anthony Cacace is now set to collide with Leigh Wood after vacating his IBF title. So soon having won it, he parts ways with it. And we all know why. Rumors of Anthony Cacace's next outing have been circulating after the Irishman decided to vacate his IBF super featherweight title last week. The 36-year-old produced a punishing performance to dethrone Joe Cordina last year, claiming his red and gold belt with a stunning 8th-round stoppage victory. I wasn't expecting that when it happened. After that, Cacace, 23-1 with 8 KOs, defended his IBO against former featherweight champion Josh Warrington, imposing his size to secure a wide unanimous decision win. But instead of facing hard-hitting IBF Mando, Eduardo Sugar Munoz, Ento took to his social media on Friday to declare he will now chase the biggest fights possible. In a lengthy statement, Anthony stated, "Today I have decided to vacate my IBF world title. Becoming a world champion was an absolute dream and incredibly proud moment for me. However, at this stage of my career, I only want the biggest fights possible, regardless of the belt on the line. I'm a prize fighter, and my aim now is to secure mine and my family's future and to create a legacy for myself in boxing by being involved in massive fights that fans will remember. I look forward to announcing my next fight very soon. Watch this space." Dated January 31st, at the very end of last month.
Crawford.
He's not going to fight Sugar Nunez, after all.
Not surprised.
So now he's looking at lethal Leigh Wood, who has been involved in some of British boxing's most memorable fights in recent years, with his performance against Mick Conlan remaining at the forefront of everyone's minds. In that particular showdown, Leigh Wood, 28-3 with 17 knockouts, emerged from the jaws of defeat to halt Conlan with an awe-inspiring 12th round finish, 12th round knockout. Mick Conlan saw himself knocked out of the ring in that fight. That was memorable. So were both his fights against Mauricio Lara, falling short against the dangerous Mexican contender in his first meeting. The Brit immediately avenged his loss with a more measured display in the second fight. But now with Anthony Cacace having vacated his IBF title while also keeping hold of his IBO trinket, it would appear that the pair are set to lock horns. Later this year, while an official announcement has yet to surface, Irish News has reported that they will square off in Wood's hometown of Nottingham, England, on May 10th. Well, it took him long enough to get here because for some weeks now, what feels like some months, the story was that he came to an agreement to face Sugar Nunez. Apparently not. And I don't know what the holdup was, because for this, he could have vacated the IBF title a long time ago. I suppose he was hanging on to it long enough until another door opened, and another one did. A Leigh Wood fight. I understand it. I get it. Sugar Nunez is all wrong for Anthony Cacace. Anthony would get a taste of his own medicine with Sugar. Sugar would do to him what he did to Joe Cordina. Put the pressure on and beat him from the inside out. Overpower him. I don't have a doubt in my mind that if the fight would have happened, Sugar would have stopped him. And he knows that. That's why he gave up his belt, and he's now targeting Leigh Wood, who's a bigger name, makes for a bigger fight, a much bigger fight in the United Kingdom, and it's also more winnable because Leigh Wood hasn't seen action since October of 2023. Well over a year ago, he fought 3 times that year, 2 times against Mauricio Lara, then capped off the year knocking out Josh Warrington, but we haven't seen him since then. The run of form that Leigh Wood was on From July of 2021 to October of 2023, wins over Kansu, Mick Conlan, Lara, Warrington. Very dramatic fights, and don't forget that Lee Wood was the underdog in quite a few of them, but he pulled it out. He found a way. He'll be the underdog in this one. A fan favorite, Lee Wood, make no mistake. But he won't be the betting favorite with the bookies if and when this fight gets announced. Anthony Cacace goes into this with all the momentum that Lee Wood had well over a year ago.
Transference of power.
He's extending his career and adding to his marquee value is what he's doing. You would have fought Sugar, you would have got stopped.
Then you would have had to start over. You would have had to rebuild. You fight Lee Wood off over a year layoff. You beat him, you become a bigger name in the process. I understand it.
Still a duck, though. It's a brazen duck, because if you liked your chances against Sugar, you'd defend your belt against him, then bring that same belt to the Lee Wood fight, in effect making it bigger. If you're not, it's because for you, it's an either-or situation.
It's a duck.
Speaking of ducks, David Benavidez is still trying to use Canelo Alvarez to duck, to avoid. The winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol taking to his Instagram account saying, "Imagine if Canelo would just agree and fight me already."
Imagine if you got off his dick and moved on.
It's not about the money, it's about what the sport needs right now, and we owe it to the fans.
Who do you think believes that shit?
Without a doubt, it would go down as the best Mexican shootout in boxing history. Let's give the fans what they deserve.
So I take it you don't want undisputed then?
We're 300% confident on this side, but I can't say the same for the other. Allow me to indulge you and take a page out of your fans' playbook. Let's call Canelo a duck. Let's call him a coward. Let's say he's afraid of you, and he doesn't want to fight you under any circumstances. This is the same guy who just inked a 4-fight deal with Turkey El Sheikh. And you just said you don't want to go to Saudi. You don't want to box over there because you're a Vegas fighter.
Remember?
That's the one thing they talk about, like Turkey Al Rashid, and they say, would you ever fight with them over there in Riyadh? But at the end of the day, all my fan base is here in Las Vegas. I'm a Las Vegas fighter, you know what I mean? I would love to go over there and fight, but this is my market right here, and I feel like we're doing really well. We just sold out T-Mobile Arena, you know what I mean? It's one of my dream come true to me, you know what I mean? And I just want to take advantage of this market because I've worked 11 years to. This is my first time having a freaking crowd like that, so I want to stay here.
So for argument's sake, let's just look at all of this through the lens of a David Benavidez fan. Canelo is a coward. He's a duck. He doesn't want to fight David. Then what are you still calling him out for?
It's not going to happen.
You can't get Canelo in the ring. You tried.
You're at a completely different weight now. You're the mandatory challenger for the undisputed light heavyweight champion, and you're still harping about Canelo? You're just making yourself look desperate.
Look scared. You look afraid. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that Canelo is afraid of you. You're afraid of the winner of that fight.
So it looks.
What David Benavidez and his fans don't seem to understand is that harping online isn't going to get you anywhere. It hasn't gotten you anywhere yet, right?
Right.
You didn't get the fight. So why are you still beating that same dead horse? Why do you keep doing the same thing? If you're convinced that Canelo is terrified of you and he will never share the ring with you, then what's the point?
You're literally on the same schedule as both Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. You boxed earlier this month, and they're set to box towards the end of it. Why aren't you more focused on that? That's for undisputed.
A fight with Canelo won't be because he's not undisputed anymore, and even if he were, you're not at 168. So the more you call him out now that you're not even at the same weight, the more obvious you make it that you're terrified of Artur Beterbiev. You're terrified of Dimitri Bivol because they've got all the marbles at your weight and you don't even care. And never mind that they actually have oil money behind them. You know, just the other day, a guy tried to tell me that David Benavidez is the money man at 175.
Because he's got more money than Turkey?
Guy who goes by the name Kevin Lisboa in the spaces on Twitter claimed to be David Benavidez's accountant.
Sorry, Kevin, but David ain't the money man at 175. Are you joking? He's got more money behind him than they have behind them? I don't think so.
First thing the guy started doing was talking about Canelo and David, and I already knew what time it was.
It's what David Benavidez has been doing, talking about Canelo so he doesn't have to talk about Artur or Dimitri. That's what he's been doing. That's what his fans have been doing. A guy who goes by the name G Funky said, if David Benavidez isn't one of the 4 opponents, then it doesn't mean much to me.
What 4 opponents?
The 4 guys that Canelo Alvarez is supposed to fight as part of his new Riyadh season deal. This guy's saying that unless David is one of them, he don't care, even though Dimitri Bivol was floated as one of the 4.
What, Dimitri Bivol is second prize to David Benavidez?
Whatever then, don't care. Crying online about it isn't going to change anything. It didn't change anything for David. Why would it change anything for you?
It doesn't matter what lens I look at this through. As a Canelo fan, or perhaps a non-Canelo fan. A guy who don't even care about Canelo. He's a pussy.
That's what you want to hear, right?
That's what the David Benavidez fans spend all night and day and all week and all month and all year arguing about.
That's what you want to hear, right?
That he's afraid and he's a coward. Let's say that he is. That's all the more reason you need to move on. He's not going to fight you. By inking this 4-fight deal with Turki El Sheikh, is that not him putting even more distance between you and him? Because now he's not even at the PBC anymore.
You're still calling him out. As if you're gonna move down to 168. You ain't got nothing he needs at 175.
What it reminds me of is when Chocolatito was the money man at his weight, like Canelo is currently the money man at his. A long time ago, Chocolatito was the best thing smoking at Superfly. He knew he had just got there, and he made a play to get him in the ring.
Choco didn't want to do it. Doesn't matter why.
Because he didn't do it, and he knew he didn't spend a week, or a month, or a year, or 2 years sobbing, sad rapping about how Chocolatito won't fight him. He moved up in weight, took on naturally bigger men, beat them all, ended up making more money in the long run than Chocolatito was making when he turned him down.
Maybe that's because he knew he's the kind of fighter, the caliber of fighter, that David isn't.
Maybe that's the difference. He knew he was able to stay in character when he moved up from 115 up to 118 and 122, whereas David will struggle to stay in character against the best and brightest at light heavyweight, and he knows it. That's why he's still calling out Canelo.
Well, if Canelo's as scared as you say, he's not going to fight you, so what's the point?
So insisting on getting Canelo Alvarez in the ring? You need to fight the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol, become undisputed, and give him a reason to fight you. Dimitri Bivol is in the running for a Canelo Alvarez rematch. If you get to Bivol before he does...
Say Bivol beats Artur Beterbiev and you get to him before Canelo, you become undisputed. You take him out of the picture. Are you going to do what you got to do or not?
Well, I did tell you guys what he's going to do. I don't think he sticks around at light heavyweight, to be honest with you. I think very soon he'll move up to cruiser, have the fight with Zerto. Underneath it all, I think that's the plan. But he's got to keep calling out Canelo, otherwise he'll fade into obscurity. Otherwise, people won't really have much reason to talk about him. Not without Canelo.
Fairly confident, even after he moves up, even while he's at cruiserweight, he's still going to keep bringing up Canelo.
Because the biggest part of selling a David Benavidez fight ain't David Benavidez. It's Canelo. Speaking of the undisputed light heavyweight title fight, the one that David doesn't want, Dimitri Bivol on Artur Beterbiev rematch, I have to be much better.
Dimitri Bivol has no one to blame but himself. It took years for an undisputed showdown against Artur Beterbiev to materialize. To a certain extent, Artur did most of the championship heavy lifting, aggregating 3 of the 4 major titles. Bivol, though, wasn't simply sitting around watching the clock tick by. Wins over Canelo Alvarez and Zerto Ramirez had plenty believing that his WBA title, along with the rest of his belts, would be going home with him. Ultimately, they were wrong. I have to admit I was wrong.
I picked Dimitri ahead of the fight, and I stood on that square for years. I was convinced that by the time they do fight, Father Time would have caught up to Artur Beterbiev, opening the door for Dimitri to win. And I was wrong. I mean, the fight that I saw, I felt that Artur did enough. I felt that Artur won it. The first fight was close, maybe even too close, at least for some people. Some who think Dimitri should have got the nod. Yet no matter how many people believe Dimitri won, the 3 judges sitting ringside handed the victory to Artur. Bivol fought a masterful fight. He boxed when he wanted, moved when he needed to, and brawled when necessary. Although he fought like a star and did enough to win in the court of public opinion, Bivol is taking his defeat on the chin. It might be easy to point a blaming finger at numerous people, but instead of doing that, the ring's #1 ranked light heavyweight contender and former WBA champion took a look in the mirror. He's essentially blaming himself. I tend to think that the boxers a region produces are a reflection of its people. They're more traditional over there in Russia. The men are still men.
Some semblance of a code of honor and stoicism. These are not the kind of fighters that need to be brash or impulsive or mince words, say a bunch of this and a bunch of that.
Like what we see from American fighters. Yes, I tend to think the boxers a region produces are a reflection of its people. And what kind of boxers is America producing? I'll tell you what kind.
The kind that could stand on the precipice of making history for himself, yet he'd rather resort to the same tired old gimmicks he's been using that haven't gotten him anywhere.
Talking about David Benavidez. Dmitry Bivol said, "I feel that I have to be much more better," he admitted during a Zoom interview with Fight Hub. In a few weeks, the new wrinkles Bivol has been implementing into his game will be revealed when he takes on Beterbiev in their immediate rematch. Looking back now serves no purpose, but he does look at their first fight as somewhat of a warning. On that particular night, Bivol fought a terrific fight, but still found himself on the losing end. With part 2 approaching, he knows that he must make a victory more clear, even if that means dominating every second of every round against the current undisputed champion.
I can't leave some doubt for the judges. I have to be excellent.
Big part of taking ownership is understanding that even if you feel the judges got it wrong in the last fight, you have your role to play in it as well. Perhaps the biggest role, because you're the guy in the ring.
What has the greatest influence on the outcome of the fight, if not the man in the ring? And we can argue about corruption in the sport of boxing or perception.
As well as perception. Different judges like different things. Some favor neat and tidy boxing, others favor aggression and activity. Volume.
We can mull it over.
Debate it and discuss it. Dmitry Bivol, however, has a bigger role to play. He's actually in there, and he's got to make it to where they can't take it from him. So the question is, how does he do that?
How does any fighter do that in a boxing ring? You take it out of the judge's hands. The question is, do you think he can?
Do you think he can stop Artur Beterbiev? Or do you think that opening up more in the rematch will leave him more vulnerable and more susceptible to Artur's power? If he was moving as much as he did, it's not for no reason. He was moving to survive.
That's literally what kept him in the fight. Moving.
Simultaneously, what costed him the fight, because if you keep moving, if you're moving for too many rounds, too long, it starts to look like you're just getting pushed around. Like you can't hold your footing, you can't hold the center of the ring, you're getting backed up by this guy.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm looking forward to finding out.
And those are really the best fights, aren't they? The ones where the answer and the outcome isn't quite clear. Who's gonna win? I don't know, because I don't expect Artur to change much, but he won the last fight, so who says he has to? The guy who's got to change is Dmitry.
But what can he change?
Literally don't know. If you take a more aggressive approach to throw more punches, you're susceptible to more punches. You go looking for a knockout, you run the risk of being knocked out. That's how that goes.
The caveat.
You're not the knockout artist in this fight. You're not the heavy-handed fighter. He is. So what do you do?
It all lends itself to the fight's mystique. Dmitry Bivol, can he figure out this puzzle, or is he the one that's been figured out?